AI. You probably can't hear that word anymore. Me neither. That word, which 10 years ago still used to be cool, has become such an obnoxious buzzword, with companies throwing it around left and right, packing it multiple times into every sentence as if this was some insane competition of sorts, that we cannot help but wonder, is AI really this life-changing thing that it is made out to be? Will AI really impact our lives in a fundamental way, or is it just pure hype? And in reality, there's not much behind it. So in order to find out if AI is really going to be as life-changing and impactful as all these companies out there want to make us believe, we have to understand what AI in the current sense of the word even means. We have to also differentiate it from what it could develop into in the long run. So what is currently sold to us as a groundbreaking new invention, as this revolutionary product, is generative AI. And these are in essence models that use neural networks to identify patterns and structures within existing data in order to generate new content. So what is a neural network even? A neural network is a method that teaches computers to process data in a way that is inspired by the human brain. It is a type of machine learning process called deep learning that uses interconnected nodes or neurons in a layered structure that resembles the human brain. So we have different layers, so-called input layers, where the data enters, hidden layers, and then lastly the output layer where the output exits. As we can see, every node of the layer is interconnected with every node from the neighboring layer. This is indeed very much akin to how information transmission in the human brain works. Our brains are in essence huge networks wherein neurons, the brain cells if you will, are interconnected to other neurons, and information is thus processed always in unison with other layers of neurons. This way of processing information has inspired computer scientists to come up with this fascinating way of processing information inspired by nature. Okay, cool. So now we understand that current day AI is based on models employing these so-called neural networks. Generate new data based on lots and lots of pre-existing data. So these models need pre-existing data. Generated by whom? By us. By humans. Billions of pictures that we have drawn, billions of conversations or billions of sentences that we have spoken or written. The AI models analyze this vast amount of data employing these neural networks, and thus we get new data out. And this new data can be, for example, new sentences or new pictures, but they will always be based on pre-existing data. So AI, in its current stage of development, is basically us. Us in a modified form. It can create new stuff, but always within the bounds and limits of what it has been trained with. So therefore, what is currently sold to us as AI is basically just a glorified pattern recognition program, which then generates patterns based on a combination of pre-existing patterns. Now don't get me wrong, the results are certainly very impressive. The latest ChatGPT, GPT-4o, is extremely impressive, especially when it mimics the human voice and fools us into believing that we are talking with an artificial life form.
I want to introduce you to somebody.
Well, hello there, cutie. What's your name, little fluffball?
But we are not. This is not an artificial life form. Far from it. This is just us. It is just us, reshuffled and modified in a way as to make us believe that it is a gigantic breakthrough. And don't get me wrong, it is certainly impressive in what it can already do now. And even at this stage, it already affects jobs where many artists or stock footage companies or even photo models already feel the pressure of AI slowly nabbing away their jobs.
Hello viewers of Tech Chasm, I am not a real person and have been generated by Synthesia by the show's editor, ASN.
But we humans have the tendency to vastly overestimate the capabilities of a technology in the short run and to underestimate it in the long run. In the 60s, for example, in the era of the space race, it was thought that the progress would just continue and that by the 80s we would have giant moon bases and that by the 2000s cities even on Mars. But this never happened. Why? We overestimated our capabilities in the short run. The technological spurt needed to consolidate, to mature until the next growth phase. This growth phase is starting right now, and the next growth phase will be a lot more powerful and impressive than the previous one from the 60s. Or electric cars. Remember when back in 2020 or 2021, EVs were all the rage and we thought that by 2030 there would only exist electric cars and no regular cars anymore? We again vastly overestimated the development of that technology sector and now we underestimate it again in the long run. Now, after the first initial growth surge, that technology needs to consolidate, to take a breather for the next even bigger growth spurt, which when it comes, will melt faces. But now we vastly underestimate it. Or take the internet back in 1999. We vastly overestimated what the internet would do in the short run, leading to a giant stock market bubble. And then in 2003, at the low of the following crash, we vastly underestimated what it would do in the long run. And then the next growth phase came, which was a lot bigger than in the 90s, and the internet then really indeed completely changed our lives in the 2010s, which nobody would have thought possible at the low of 2003. We humans are really bad at predicting stuff, like really bad. Technological development is highly non-linear. It has growth spurts and then sometimes takes pauses, sometimes even takes a few steps back again before making a huge giant leap. And the same happens now with us, with AI. We are again vastly overestimating what AI will be capable of doing in the short run and vastly underestimating what it will do in the long run. Real, generalized AI is still a ways off despite the hype train probably telling you right now that it's only 3 or 5 years away. It will completely transform our lives, no doubt about it. But as in the case with the 60s space race, or with electric cars, or with the internet in the 90s, we got ahead of ourselves. We created a massive hype, overstating what these data models can do. For that is what they really currently are, data models. Yes, some jobs will feel the pressure. Yes, it will cause disruption. But will it be that insanely life-changing event within the next 5 years? No, I personally think not. What we saw now was the first initial growth spurt, and that surely was an impressive one. But as always with such things, hype massively overblows it. We get caught up in the hype. This leads to massive speculation bubbles, all of which normally end pretty badly. But then, when that first initial surge is over, pessimism kicks in. Was it all hype? Was it all hot air? It was not as amazing as they promised us it would be. And then when peak pessimism hits, that is when the real next much bigger growth phase will start. AI will transform our lives at some point, just as the internet did. But I strongly suspect that the technology will need to take a breather, consolidate, take a downturn for some time until the next much larger growth phase starts. And that growth phase will probably see the birth of real generalized artificial intelligence, which will really revolutionize technology, research, and even society as a whole. So I think that AI is overhyped in the short run, but in the long run, it will probably be very crazy. But I suspect it will take longer than Google, Microsoft, Apple, and the likes would like to make us believe. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, because we'll continue putting out lots of videos on fascinating developments in the realm of technology. And please consider supporting us on Patreon or via a YouTube membership, because that will allow us to make more and better videos. So then, all the best wherever you are, and see you next time. Companies throwing it around left and right, packing it multiple times into every sentence, as if this was some insane competition of sorts. So in order to find out if AI is really going to be as live, we have to also differentiate it from what it could develop in the long run.